Have listened to this. We're going to war, kids.
You need to have water, you need to have a radio on batteries, and you need to have a flashlight on batteries to make sure that you can survive the first 36 hours. Things like that. That's simple things. But it starts there. The realization that not everything is plannable, not everything is going to be honky-dory in the next 20 years. I'm not saying it is going wrong tomorrow, but we have to realize it's not a given that we are in peace. And that's why we have the plans. That's why we are preparing for a conflict with Russia and the terror groups, if it comes to it, if they attack us. We're not seeking any conflict. But if they attack us, we have to be ready.
So there you go. That bloke is telling you now all to prepare. It might not happen yet, but things are going to be bad in the future. What you need is batteries and a radio. The reason they say that is because they'll tell you when an air raid is coming, or they'll tell you when you've got to go come into the shelter, get out of the shelter, or whatever else. They give you all the instructions that you as the population will need. At least you think so anyway. What you actually need to do is get wise. And you need to network with a load of other people who are equally as wise as you and start teaching people who aren't so wise what really is going on. War is business, and it's the best business in the world. What is it that Snedley, I can't remember, is it Snedley Thomas, Snedley Butler said? War's a racket. We worked out basically in the very early part, say for instance 1914 to 1918 for instance, the Great War, which wasn't very great, certainly not if you played a part in it. The business people worked out that they made more money from that war than they ever did out of their production lines that they just set up. And they worked out that maybe if that war made a lot of money, other wars could make more money. And it's interesting that the politicians have their hands in on the profit to be made on these, otherwise they wouldn't go to war. So your politicians are already bought and paid for. Now NATO has been pushing or prodding the bear for, they've been moving weapons, defensive weapons obviously, closer to Russia's borders since the 50s, and now literally Russia's pretty much ring-fenced, and yet they're the bad people. And if you listen to this guy, he says we're there to defend ourselves. Do you know what? They caused more false flags, America, NATO, ourselves, over the last 100 years than you could possibly imagine. We have prodded the bear, we've started more wars, we've done all sorts of stuff from election rigging, crop burning, coup d'etats, all sorts of other things that you can't possibly imagine we've all been a party to, because it's all about profit and it's all about business. Now when you control the media, you can keep all that information from you lot. Unfortunately, the internet came along, well, and you're getting a bit wiser now. That's a problem. But the radio bit obviously will tell you when you can come out of your shelter, when you can go back into your shelter. But you do need to prepare, because bad times are coming, because these people are desperate to get the Cold War ramped right up. The last time the Cold War made globalists who supply all the weapons to support that Cold War, it made them absolutely trillions, all right? And they've remembered that, and they want another one. Now bearing in mind, basically we had the last war and then the Cold War. That cost us a lot of money, and we've only just really got over that, so now we need another. Now they also said they're going to defend against a terrorist. Who's a terrorist exactly here? When we go into their countries and we destabilize them, or we actively take them over under a false flag, or we call it what you want, we're the bad guys. We cause misery around the world just so we can get oil cheaper by the barrel, and that's wrong. We go into countries and fuck them up because we can't get their mineral resources or their crops or their assets or whatever at slave labour prices. And that's what we want. Not we. When I say collectively we, I meant our governments. And our governments are directed by the people who are in the government, who are directed by people who pay them large sums of money. That's the truth of it, right? So they are ramping up for war. The thing is, right, as if anything, history will always tell you where you're going to go, because history repeats itself. And if you have a look at the First World War, the Second World War, a lot of very good, fine individuals went to meet their end, a meat grinder, just to help protect the financial assets and interests of globalism in the West. It's criminal, it's wrong, it needs to stop, but until people get clued up, it won't. But you can be sure of one thing: if they say we're preparing to defend ourselves against any action, it'll be us that take that action, and it will make out through false propaganda and bullshit that it will be Russia that were the bad guys. When you look at all these people that are coming into our country, why are they coming into our country? Well, in some cases, we went over and fucked their country up and then told them come here. But when we go and fuck their country up, and it looked all right before we got there, and now we've left it looking like a building site, you can imagine these people are going to be slightly pissy towards us. So when they go off their reservation and go mental, much as I really don't like it, there are some times you think, well, what have we done to these people? And that's the truth. But what they'll do is they'll then paint out a certain group of people to be the enemy, although it is buried in the dark ages, I must admit. But I'd be pissed off myself if basically I'd have the living shit bombed out of my country and lost family, property, all sorts of other stuff, just so a bunch of globalists could depose my leader and put a leader in there that's soft on the West and gives them everything they want. So keep your eye on the news, and then try and read between the lines, because they will sell you a load of bullshit. They'll paint a narrative, but what you've got to wonder is, what is the real truth? That's why YouTube comes in. Look at history in the past. After you've done that, look at what this lot are telling you. Then look at what the opposition, that's the conspiracy theorists, are telling you. Somewhere in the middle of that, you will find the line of truth. Use that as your datum line, and then work it out for yourself. You're never going to get told the truth from the media. The media will literally back up the narrative, because the media and all the others are all on board and they want us to go to war. Problem is, nobody apart from the rich, the globalists, will win this war. All right, they will fund both sides, they will arm both sides, they will supply everything to make that war happen, they will profit from that, and it honestly doesn't matter really what the outcome is of that war, because they will have made money and both sides will still be in debt to them. That's how it works. When you wonder why there's always war going on around the world, you have to ask yourself why. I'm just amazed that these people have been allowed to get away with it so long, but here we are. Anyway, prepare for the worst. They're planning for it, so you need to plan too. We need to start getting on with each other. We need to start networking. We need to start thinking about what dangers are there to our future, not just immigration. You know, what are these fucking idiots planning? It won't be an all-out nuclear war. Neither side will ever do that, right? It might be, they might use some fucked up weapons, but it won't be like nuke us off the face of the planet. That'll never happen, because as Henry Kissinger and many others came up with, there was a system called mutually assured destruction. That is, if they launch at us, we launch at them. It would never happen. But the media will drum it up that we're that close away from it, and it'll tell you that all the time. And the reason it'll tell you that is that when the government decides it's going to go and spend billions, depending on which country, or trillions, depending if you're in America, on defence, you'll all say yes, because you want to be defended. That's the truth of it. So just be aware. Hang on a minute, let's move here, because he's trying to get around me on a building site. So just be aware, when they start rattling the bell or beating the drum of war, and you're all going, well, yeah, just keep us safe, just know that they're not going to fucking nuke us. Nobody on the face of the planet, including the religion of peace, is that stupid, because nobody can survive after it. And you might think that these people are completely got a death wish, but no, they want to live after. Although it was said that one of the war hawks in the American military back in the 60s did say this. He said, if I wiped everybody off the face of the planet and there was one Russian left and 2 American, I consider that a result. But don't worry, there aren't too many people like that left. But there it is. Prepare for the worst, kids. Why do I say kids? Most of you that watch me are older than me. Anyway, take it steady. I'll see you in a bit.